Okay guys, so this is a top tips video of how to actually remove stains from aniline leather. We're going to use the Aniline Mousse Cleaner first of all. We're also going to clean with a bamboo pad so that we can actually get the stains removed effectively. We don't want to use a brush, obviously, because aniline is a very open pore leather, so you've got to be careful you don't go scrubbing too much, and creating a lot of damage. These particular seats have got a great deal of staining on them, but the Mousse Cleaner is going to be the best one to sort of use, as well as LRC8. It's going to be a combination of the two. We've got to use LRC8 as well as the Aniline Mousse Cleaner. So we've got to get the actual leather item itself, very, very wet. Once it is very, very wet, we can then go over with LRC8 and use LRC8 to finish off to remove all the staining. The reason for doing that and not just using LRC8 from the beginning is the cleaning power of the soaps of LRC8. They are too strong to use on aniline as a standalone product. You have to wet the item with the Aniline Mousse Cleaner, first of all, with the bamboo pad. Once that has been done and it's wet in its entirety, you can then go over and make it really wet with the LRC8 to help to deep clean those stains. Things like microfiber pads and stuff like that I would never use, or microfiber towels I would never ever use on an aniline item or any form of leather item for that matter, because they can create damage to the surface because of the static charge that they create. They can remove the clear coatings and protection levels that you've got on there. So simply get the mousse sprayed into the bamboo microfiber pad. Obviously the bamboo pads are antimicrobial as well, so they're a fantastic item for helping keep surfaces very clean and germ free and things like that. So as you can see, we're going over, making the surface extremely wet here with the Aniline Mousse Cleaner, and you can see there where we're pointing out where all the staining is in this particular seat. You've got to make sure that you go all the way to the edges of an item. You can't just do like a patch in the middle of a seat, especially with aniline or semi-aniline, because you will always create a tide mark on the surface of the item, and this can then obviously lead to even greater problems. But get the item completely wet all the way over. Make sure you've got a good sort of even coverage of the Aniline Mousse Cleaner on the surface. Obviously, if you could, if this is a removable cushion, we're doing this whole chair, but if this wasn't a removable cushion, then the sides I would try to protect while you were cleaning the seat base if there was nothing wrong with the actual sides of the item. So now we're going to take that off. Because we're using LRC8 next, we've taken it off the chair itself so that we can now give it a good clean. There's plenty of dirt coming out there that's on the pad. So now again, we're going to spray into the pad rather than spraying directly onto the item. Like we did with the Mousse Cleaner, never spray directly onto the leather item that you're cleaning when it comes to aniline or semi-anilines. Always spray into your pad and then apply the product to the surface of the item. And now you can use a little bit more of a slightly firm pressure, but not too heavy, and just wipe over the surface. You don't want to be too heavy with the pressure here. It's like a sort of medium pressure, because you've got to try to get this LRC8 now really deep into the leather itself and make it, go over and making it really, really wet, because you want to make sure that you really soak the surface to ensure that that's soaked in properly. You can see there where we're sort of, it doesn't really matter which pattern you're rubbing in, but you've got to keep going over and making sure you really wet that aniline or semi-aniline leather item, because you've got to be able to remove all of those stains from the surface. You're not going to force dry this item. You're going to allow this to naturally dry out. That is the purpose of what we're doing here. You let it naturally dry out and the stains will eventually be gone. You can then take the foam out and scrunch up the leather if it leaves any stain in there. Any small amount, you'll find there's going to be a small amount of stains. Take the foam out of the cushion, give it a real good sort of scrunch up, rub it together, and you will find that you'll remove the balance of any staining that was on the surface. And you'll be left with a beautiful looking, semi-aniline or aniline leather item again. And you can see there the difference of how it looks compared to, wet and obviously dry. But that will remove all of the staining on this semi-aniline item. So, it's going to remove that completely. These you know, obviously were stained, and we're going to concentrate now where the actual main staining area was, which is just here, and that's what we want to concentrate on to try to sort of remove that, you know, fully. Just keep rubbing in that area while the item is extremely wet, and that will help you remove the staining that was left there. So I mean, it's just where it was, you know, someone's legs were sat, and you can see there the dirt that's coming out, the grease and grime that's being removed from the surface, and it's pulling all that dirt out. Just give that particular area where the main area of staining is a really good sort of rub over to remove the stain. You'll be able to sort of see through what you're doing, even though it's very wet. You'll still be able to see, because the stain will go slightly darker while you're obviously cleaning it. And then you've got to make sure you're going obviously edge to edge and stuff like that, to make sure you push all the liquid out to all of the edges again, to ensure that it is completely stain free. Just concentrate on those particular areas where, you know, where all the staining is, and that will then obviously, once it naturally dries, we're going to be, you know, you're going to see the differences. We're now going to go start cleaning edge to edge again to make sure that we level out all of these, you know, the main patch area where we were cleaning. Keep spraying onto your bamboo pad, and then, you know, make sure it's wetted out to those outside seams. You don't want to just leave it, you know, that concentrated area that we were doing in the middle. You don't want to just leave that as the concentrated area that you were cleaning. You want to make sure that you go fully edge to edge to ensure that you clean that in its entirety. Because if we were to just concentrate on that small area in the middle and left that, and obviously that was very wet and the outside areas weren't so wet, you would end up still creating that stain, which is what you do not want to do, is to create that particular stain in that area. So just go all the way to the edges, rubbing out, and you're like removing the stain. I mean, there's plenty of dirt coming off onto the bamboo pad here, but the key to it is obviously using the aniline mousse to begin with, and then using the LRC1. Obviously that neutralizes the full strength of LRC1, but it gives it enough cleaning power to remove the deep down stains. You know, obviously with any aniline leather cleaner, if it's going to remove deep down stains immediately, then the product is too powerful to begin with, which is obviously going to be drying up the leather. With an aniline cleaner, it's a very gentle product, and it's a very gentle cleaner, so it's designed to sort of remove light surface sort of like dirt and grime and stains on the surface. But anything like this, which is like alcohol-based drink stains, then, you know, in a lot of cases, an aniline cleaner on its own as a standalone product will not remove those when they've been left in there for some considerable months or years. So you need an additional product to help you remove all of those staining, which is why we've opted to go with the sort of two products here, which is obviously the aniline mousse and then the LRC1 leather cleaner over the top. You can sort of see there the staining that's running down the back of this particular seat as well, and the arms where it's got grease compacted in. Those are going to be the next sort of stages that we will attack on here. But the seat base has certainly got, you know, a good sort of cleaning action taking place and wetted, and that is how you would use aniline mousse and LRC1 together. Thank you very much.